Hello, Amanda. Come in and take a seat. It's nice to see you again. At our last meeting, we were discussing the driving school and the possible business structures you could establish to operate it under. I've had the opportunity to research the relevant business structures and conferred with our senior partner, Mr. Robinson. There are two business structures available on the facts that you have previously provided at our last meeting. These are that of a partnership and a priority limited company. I'll explain each in turn with both of the benefits and the drawbacks prior to making my recommendation. And please remember, it is only a recommendation and you must decide what you feel is the most appropriate, and I'll assist you in that decision. Firstly, I shall start with a partnership business structure. There's legislation regulating partnerships in all states and territories. However, there is no Commonwealth legislation. A partnership can be found to exist by the actions of the parties conducting a business, whether they intend for there to be a partnership or not. It's not uncommon for partners to have a partnership agreement setting out the rules of the partnership, but if there was no agreement, then the provisions of the relevant Partnership Act will apply. In your case, this would be the Queensland legislation. All state and territory partnership acts provide for a partnership to exist. There must be that the parties are carrying on a business and the business is in common and with the intention of making a profit. The benefit of a partnership is that you may structure the partnership to suit your situation by a partnership agreement, and there's less formal paperwork than that of a company. The driving school business, as you have described to me, would meet the criteria of a partnership. A drawback to a partnership as opposed to a company is that the liability of the partners in the partnership is joint and several. This means that if you and Barry, or both of you together incur a liability with the partnership, both of you are equally liable. This is because partnerships are not a separate legal entity. This means that there is no limit to the personal liability of the partners for any debts incurred by either party in the name of the partnership, including any negligent acts or any liabilities incurred by any of the partners without the knowledge of the other partner. Hence, it is untoward to, if anything untoward to occur, your personal assets such as your home would not be protected if you were sued. At our last meeting, you said you would like for you and Barry to be able to receive a wage relative to the contributions you have made to the business, and initially you would be making the majority of the contributions as Barry would continue with his home maintenance business for a period of time. Well, unfortunately, under a partnership, you would not receive a wage as such, but you and Barry may both draw upon the funds available in the partnership. I would highly recommend, if you decide to go with the partnership structure, that you have a formal partnership agreement drawn up and signed by both you and Barry. This agreement can include, but is not limited to, the names of the partners, which would be yourself and Barry, the name that you have decided on your driving school and have registered, the length of the partnership, the capital contributions that you're each going to contribute, and what authority each of you will have for the partnership business. The arrangements as to any drawings or advances upon the partnership money, provisions regarding death, bankruptcy, retirement, or if either of you, and also I think what is important is that a method of valuing goodwill with any terms of the dissolution of the partnership in the event of a breakdown of your relationship. I know it's not something that you consider appropriate for today, but it should always be have that contingency in place. So that's your partnership structure. Your other option is that of a company. You may be a sole director of the company with you and Barry as equal shareholders. Therefore, you would have responsibility for management of the company and would have to comply with the reporting requirements, but this wouldn't be difficult if you're going to retain the accountant, as you said before, he would assist you in doing so. Unlike a partnership, whereas I should have formal documentation on the running of the partnership, when a company is registered to comply with the requirements of the Corporation Act, you must have a set of rules. Now, you don't have to have these drawn up, but you may do because there are replaceable rules provided for in the Corporations Act. that govern how the internal administration of the company. In the context of the proposed driving school, a company registered with both yourself as a director or both you and Barry as directors and shareholders, neither of you would be liable for the debts of the company if anything untoward were to occur, like the accident that we spoke about before. However, you would be held liable if you failed to act in good faith for the purposes of the business of the company. For example, you continue to operate when knowing the company is not able to pay its debts. However, if you follow the expert advice on these issues, be the lawyer's advice or the accountant's advice, there'd be very little risk of directors being personally liable for any debts of the companies. Directors can also be liable for the debts of the company if they have provided personal guarantees for borrowings of the company, which could be the case where you said you would like to purchase new cars under finance. They could either be purchased in, as you know, in your own name or within the name of the company. The liability of a private company limited to shares and registered under the Act is to the amount of the capital paid. So if, for example, a company is registered with paid capital of 80 shares at $1 a share, the limit of the liability of the shareholders is a total of $80 and as such provide protection for your personal assets. Further benefits of running the driving school under the company structure is that you can each be paid a wage relative to your contribution to the business. At the end of the financial year, the profit of the company is to be calculated and a decision made whether to distribute the profit by way of dividend to each of the shareholders or retained in the company for further financial growth. So that means you can actually draw your wage, pay all the company debts out of it, and whatever is left over at the end of the year, you can decide how that is to be split. What is the most important is that the company is a separate legal entity, and any property that's owned by the company or that the company purchases, whilst you and Barry would is owned by the company and not by you and Barry in your own right. You and Barry actually own the shares in the company, and that's where the value lies for you. These shares that you own can be sold or transferred by either of you. This is different where a partnership would cease to exist if the partner decided to terminate the partnership agreement due to either retiring upon death or becoming mentally incapacitated. The company, being its own legal entity, would continue to exist and may be transferred without causing interference to the management of the company or the business operations. So say, for example, that Barry did decide to move and live with his daughter interstate and you didn't want to go, you could purchase Barry's shares of the company and still maintain operation, whereas it is a bit more difficult in the partnership. Usually it's a good idea for partnerships to exist in preference to transfer of shares. My recommendation is that you do operate the driving school under a company structure. I appreciate you want to consider this advice and may even want to speak to Barry prior to coming to a decision. So what I'll do is I'll wait for you to give some consideration and then look forward to hearing from you again in due course. Thank you.